Greetings, friends and followers. This is Nurses Talking. I am Dale Barcy. And as always, if you like what you see and hear, subscribe, leave us a comment. Let us know what you think. Here at Nurses Talking, we speak to nurses anywhere in the world and at any stage in their nursing journey. Today, I have the very great pleasure of welcoming Shantrice Winston out of Georgia, USA. Shantrice is a nurse with greater than 20 years experience. She's a nurse executive. She's an educator. She's a systems strategist. She's an entrepreneur. And she says she believes that when nurses are supported, healthcare systems perform well. So welcome, Shantrice.
Welcome. Like I was like, who is this lady talking about? I don't know this person.
Yeah.
Welcome. Welcome. First of all, just thank you for the introduction. Thank you for having me. The work that you're doing, creating spaces like this for us to have these conversations is so important. People see one side of nursing and healthcare and what we go through. And so being able to have that space and place to be transparent, and to really have those deep conversations is so important. So thank you for having me. And I'm excited about what we talk about today.
All right. But we're going to go back and forth with the thank yous because I really couldn't do this if there weren't people like you who were willing to participate. So But anyway, so first of all, I want to know though, why are you a nurse? What brought you here?
So I tell people all the time, I didn't choose nursing. Nursing chose me. Growing up, I actually wanted to be in education. I've always loved teaching and developing people, but I realized that financially, nurses don't make a whole lot of money. Let's just be transparent about that. And at the time, just my background, being a teenage mother, coming from a low socioeconomic background, I needed something that was going to be stable. And so I told myself I wanted to be a pharmacist. So when it came time to apply to college, I did that. I applied to pharmacy school, but my aunt and my godmom, who are like intricate in my life and help play a huge role in who I am today, were both nurses. And they were like, you need to go to nursing school. There's so much you can do in nursing school. And I was like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be a nurse. I'm going to pharmacy school. So I applied to nursing school just so they can I can say I did it and check the box. And then when scholarships came back, nursing school gave me a full ride, pharmacy gave me a partial ride. So I was like, I guess nursing school it is. And so the decision was made. I said it was divine intervention. But I've come to realize over the time that nursing has not just been a career for me. It has given me that stability, it's giving me that security, it's helped me find purpose and meaning. And I wouldn't imagine myself doing anything else now.
Yeah, yeah. That's one of the reasons that I really do this. There are a few reasons, but this is one of them. Because you said that, your aunt and your grandmother wanted you to go to nursing school, and you're like, I don't want
Right.
to do that. But what you didn't know, and what I'm trying for people to get, is that nursing license is a license to do anything.
Anything, literally anything, because it came full circle. Like I said, I started off wanting to be, I wanted to be a teacher, and it came full circle because being a nurse allowed me to still be an educator and be in professional development and run nursing education department. So it still came full circle. And I think
Yes.
when I look at what individuals think nursing is now, they don't see all of the avenues that it allows you, and
Yes.
that there is an area in this profession for everybody. You don't have to be in a hospital. My godmom was a school nurse. She did that her entire career, has never worked in a hospital. So there's that opportunity. Now entrepreneurship is a big thing in nursing.
Yes.
And we're credible. When you say you're a nurse, people believe in you. They believe in what you say. They're willing to follow you and support you. So I am grateful for nursing. Nursing has truly built the woman that I am today.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. I second that. And I agree with you that when I became a nurse, which was more than 50 years ago, I had no idea. I had no idea that it was anything this big. But Shantrice, what challenged you?
I would have to say one of the biggest challenges over the years has been that invisible weight, that burnout, that pressure to perform when you have lives in your hand, like every day is real and it's a necessity. I've always did critical care until I got into leadership and professional development. So there's not room for errors. So there is that profession, pressure to perform. There is the expectations that you are a leader. You look down the hall one day and you like, I'm the most seasoned person on this unit. Like I'm not an official leader. I don't have that title, but I walked into work today and you got the charge phone and now you're in charge. And then there is that emotional toll that just comes with what we do every day, the death that we see, the lives that we touch, the lives that we're unable to save. And so it comes to a place where you learn to kind of put all of that underneath and just kind of be strong and just kind of keep pushing and keep moving forward. And you don't realize what it's doing to you in the end. And so long term, I learned to internalize a lot, just be strong, go with the flow, just show up every day and excel. But over the last 3 or 4 years, I realized that that wasn't great. Like I was good at building strength, but I wasn't structured and I was in complete overload. So I stopped asking, how do I push harder? How do I make this work? How do I, pretend today didn't happen, that I didn't have to, tell his family that their 17-year-old son or daughter isn't going to make it, or have to sit in a room with the doctor while he tells this newlywed wife that she has breast cancer and we don't know what that looks like on the end, and be human and deal with that. And so I started asking myself, what structure and where's the alignment missing in my life? So I built it. I built my structure. I took some time off. I woosed a little bit. I got intentional with setting my boundaries. Being a nurse is hard sometime in healthcare period to say no or not to show up for that extra
Mm.
shift because you don't want to leave, your unit short staff, or not to take that extra patient. So you get accustomed to not having boundaries. So I learned how to set boundaries. And the most important thing that I've done with that challenge and that overload is stop normalizing dysfunction. We get so accustomed to making dysfunction and chaos normal that we don't even know what it's like to settle down and to pause and to think. So that's been my challenge, is just kind of resetting this half of my life. Like, I've been a nurse literally half of my life. I'm 46. I've been doing it for 24 years. So literally half of my life is I've been nursing and caring for other people. So I don't know how not to do that. And even
Yeah.
before that, I had a ill mom and was the oldest. And so helping with that. So I really feel like since I was like 16, 17 years old, my responsibility has been something else. And so now I'm just kind of setting those boundaries, accepting that it's okay to say no, and not
Yes.
normalizing the dysfunction has been huge in this next half of my life and where I'm going now.
Yeah, 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 and that's huge. And you said earlier on, as you were talking about this, you said we learn how to be strong. We know how, it's kind of like sit in strength. One of the things that I've learned is that when talking about boundaries and stuff like that, I learned to say no, and I learned to say this is as far as I'm going to go with this. What took me a very, very long time to learn, though, apart beyond the saying no, is to learn to be vulnerable. To learn to say,
Mhm.
I'm not okay.
It's
No,
okay to not say okay. It's okay to not be okay. Like my
okay to,
therapist has
yes.
rewired me to say, when something is by nature, if somebody asks you how you doing, how your day, oh, I'm okay, or it's
Mhm.
fine. When you're falling apart, and so being able to be vulnerable, to be like, today is not a good day. I don't know what tomorrow's gonna bring, but today is not a good day. And sometimes you don't realize that it helps somebody else because they weren't having a good day either.
Yes.
And that's how you build relationships. That's how you build connections. That's how you get a support system. You never know what somebody else is going through. And all it takes sometimes is that one person to be transparent and say, this is where I'm at. And now you have a community of people to help you in those rough times. So,
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Right. It's been, anyway. What do you think? I'm going to skip ahead and ask you, what do you think? You've been a nurse for more than 20 years
yes,
in different areas. You've
yes.
spanned quite a few. You've been, clinical and educator and executive and
From the
strategist.
bedside to the boardroom. That's what my mom said. I was like, yeah, when you put it that way.
If you could change one thing, what would it be?
About my career or about nursing?
No, about nursing.
Mm, I would have to go back to stop normalizing dysfunction.
Mm,
Um, Create. places for emotional intelligence. I think that is really missing in the profession. We teach coming in nursing school, we teach nurses how to take care of other people, but we don't teach them how to take care of themselves. And so I think that's a huge opportunity for us to be able to find a way to do both. Like self-care, those things should be a part of core competency. It should be expected the same way we expect their knowledge and assessment skills. Taking care of self should be a part of that as well, because you can't sustain if you're not healthy, you're not taking
Yeah.
care of yourself. So for
Yeah.
me, that would have to say the things that need to change. Stop normalizing dysfunction and incorporate emotional intelligence into nursing school. That should be part of the curriculum, part of the competency that they understand.
It should be part of the curriculum. I believe we should go also one step further, and it should be part of in nursing, we tend
Yeah.
to create leaders based on things like seniority. First of all,
Mm-hmm.
I don't agree with that. But also
Mm-hmm.
when you are creating a leader, that also should be part of that leadership process. Because, it's all right to tell a young nurse who's 21, 22 that she needs to take care of herself. And then she steps into an environment that does not care for her. Does
Yes.
not when she wants to say no, the person who's her leader, the person who she's expected to rely on, guilt her into coming in for an extra shift,
Mm-hmm.
which we do
Yes.
a lot.
Yes. I totally agree. And that's a lot of my business that I've started is really to help nurses, leaders, and organizations see that and make those connections, make that connection between career, leadership, and life. We tend to try to put them in different silos, but all of them have to work together. And if we don't have that structure and that alignment, it's very hard and it's very difficult. I know myself personally, when I got into leadership, there was no leadership class. It was like I say, you come to work one day and the person that's supposed to be in charge is sick, and they're like, "You the most senior person on the unit. Here's the charge phone," and you just kind of figure it out from there. The roles that I've been in leadership, my last two roles didn't even exist. They were both created for me. So it was a white canvas with some dry erase markers, and it was like, we're going to wing it and figure it out along the way. And I don't think that that is the best way to do the trial by fire, that there really needs to be some structure. First of all, people need to understand, if you're going to be a leader, you need to understand your leadership style. You need to understand your communication style, because those things are impactful as a leader. If you don't know how you lead, how can you lead people? If you don't know different learning assessments for different individuals or communication styles and how to be able to flex from one communication style to the other to make your team successful, you're going to be unsuccessful as a leader. And so there's most institutions, most organizations, when I talk, there are no real leadership classes, and it should be something that's ongoing. You may have that intro to leader to get that individual started, but as they climb that leadership ladder, then we need more intermediate classes. We need to help them understand metrics and KPI dashboards and all of that. And a lot of the time, you don't find it out until you're already in it, and it's too late at that point. So I really believe that that needs to be structured, and that was the whole thing about my business, is being able to be an avenue to provide that structure, to be able to come into those organizations, be able to meet with individuals that are on that leadership track and help them be meaningful and structured in what that looks like across the board.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And you brought up your business, and I had to look up the name because I saw it was Enum, and I'm like, okay, so what does she mean by this? And I looked it up, and it says you're empowering, nurturing, optimizing mindsets. And I thought that optimizing to me was the big word in there because,
So for me is personal. It is actually my middle name spelled backwards. My middle name is Monet. So it is part of me, it is who I am, it is what I'm connected to. But then I also needed to put words to that. It needs to stand for something. And so that's why I came up with the empowering, nurturing, and optimizing mindsets, because I don't think we do enough of that. We don't empower
Yeah,
individuals to excel. We definitely don't do enough nurturing, especially not in our in the healthcare arena, and then kind of optimizing mindsets, giving people clear places and spaces to be able to speak up without fear of retaliation, giving individuals places to be able to grow, giving individual places that if they see something that is not working. I know from my standpoint, like once you get into the boardroom and you're on exec level and you've been away from the bedside for a while, things that made sense when I was at the bedside 8 years ago don't make sense today. And so it's unfair for me to say, no, this is how you have to practice and this is what that needs to look like when this person is in it every day. And so being able to provide those places where we're optimizing them and we're empowering them to be able to say, this process doesn't work, but this is what we've come up with, and we think this may be something to implement, because that's how you continue to grow. Things that, the individuals before me were on units that they had metal bedpans and all of that. I don't know what that world is like. And they had to come into new. And so I think as this is a profession that's always evolving. And so we have to be able to empower individuals to allow them that space without fear of retaliation, without being demeaning and not feeling like they don't have any support and nobody is listening to them, because people don't leave jobs, they leave situations, they leave when they don't feel a part of a team or they don't feel that they're being nurtured. That's what they leave.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. You're very clear in telling me about the system, but how big do you want this to be? What is your big dream for Enam?
Um, Listen, let's take it worldwide. Let's take it worldwide. My big dream is just to shift the standard, to build environments where healthcare beyond, as I've been in my business and I've been doing things, my husband has no healthcare background at all. He is industrial. But when I'm coming up with things and I'm using tools and I'm developing, I have, full journals out right now and all of these things. He's like, this is great. We can utilize this on my job. I just started a newsletter on LinkedIn, and of course, he's my biggest fan, so he reads it. And he was like, I'm sending this to my HR team. Like, this makes sense in our world. So whether that's healthcare, whether that's other industries, I want to build environments where thriving is not something people have to fight for. It's something that's built into orientation, competencies, how we live, how we get along every day, get into that true life work balance. Because if life isn't right, work isn't going to be. And trying to say we can separate them, you can. People shouldn't have to break themselves to be effective. I just don't believe in that. And I believe if we work together, there are ways that we can shift that standard. And with so much technology now, there are so many avenues that you can utilize to be able to help structure and align what that looks like.
You say leadership should never cost you your peace.
No.
And we exist in an environment that very often is not peaceful. So you maintain your own personal peace within this whole, which can look like chaos, chaos on steroids.
Yes.
How'd you do that?
um, First, I had to come to realization. I mean, I'm guilty. I'm like everybody else. I excelled. I am one of those individuals. I'm gonna do something I'm gonna be great at. So every time my focus changed in nursing, I went got the certification. My son and my mom laughed. My son, you got 27 letters behind your name. There's only 26 in the alphabet. Because you get into a place in a space where everything else is chaos around me. So I find the one thing that I can control. I can control my education. I can control my learning. I can control those things. But in the end, all it is misalignment and pushing broken stuff to somewhere else instead of dealing with the real issues.
Mhm.
So I got to the point where I learned to protect myself. I got clear on my values. I had to literally sit down with paper and pen, because I'm old school. I still like to write and highlight stuff. Sit down with paper and pen and get clear on my values. What legacy do I want to leave when I leave here? Not that she has 27 letters behind her name and she was a great nurse. What does my legacy looks like? And then how do I build a structure to be able to get to what I've written down on that paper? And simply refusing to stop carrying what was never mine to carry. we tend to, when you come into a system and it's already broken, and we want to fix it. It was broke before I got here, and I'm probably not going to fix it before I leave here. What I can do is make it better. And so I had to get to the point where I accept that, and I'm OCD and type A. So it was, my team laughed at me when I was still working. Like, I had sticky notes, and all of them had a different color sticky note, and it was boxes for a box and a box under a box, and it would drive me insane if I didn't check all the boxes off. And so I had to get to a point with understanding that this was taken away from my peace. This was taken. There are 24 hours in a day. The hospital never closes, and there are going to be some days that I'm going to leave and all the boxes are not going to be checked. But what impact did I make that day? What life did I touch? What patient was I able to be there? Which one, of when I got into leadership, how was I able to be an impact on my team? Was I able to notice that something has changed with one of them, and where I may have needed to be in a meeting discussing metrics, my coworker needed me to sit down and give those few extra minutes and just figure out what's going on. So for me, it was really just realigning, putting my values first, building structure, and accepting that everything is in mind to always fix and correct. And as a nurse, you want to do that. If you have that patient that you've been with for 12 hours, you want them to, live and survive. And there are those patients that no matter what you do in 12 hours, it wasn't designed for them to make it. They weren't going to make it when they got to you. And so I just had to kind of pretty much start putting my career and my life in those same aspects. There are some things I'm going to be able to fix, and there are others that I'm not. I'm just going to be able to make it better while I'm in that situation.
And as you were talking, we're back earlier in that little bit you talked about. You said it was broken before you got there. And in my head, I thought to myself, wait a minute. I've heard this before. My head said, Billy Joel says, we didn't start the fire.
We did not. We did not. We did not. It was broke before. I promise you, it was broke before. And that's what I try, nurses that I'm mentoring and coming into nursing now, and somebody's always reaching out to me, and I'm always willing to help give information, but I'm also very transparent. And so I let them know 9 out of 10 times when you walk into that organization, whatever is broken was already broken, and they know it's broken. Like, it's not a shock, a surprise to them. They already know it's broken, and you're probably not going to fix it. What you do is learn how to operate in it and be the best that you can in the situation. They already know what's broken. And it's hard, it's difficult because you want to fix everything.
Yeah.
By the nature of the beast of a nurse, you want to fix it. But I didn't fix it, it's not okay. And you're not going to always fix it.
Yeah, I get that. I get that. And you know what? It's deliberately or not, really. That's really what people prey upon, our desire to just fix everything.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
What so you had advice from your mother, from your godmother and your aunt. Go
Mhm,
to nursing school.
mhm.
What advice would you give someone now? In retrospect, you've done all this. What advice would you give someone who was your age?
Man, can I just be transparent?
Sure. That's what we want.
Once upon a time, I used to say, "Don't do it." Like, I'm gonna carry a shirt that says, "Don't do it." But in all fair honesty, what I would tell them is to, one, go in it with an open mind, an open heart. There is so much to this profession. Those that are going into it, and it's not all their fault, because you see a lot of it on social media now. You see the pretty of nursing, you see the cute uniforms and the
Mhm.
BMWs and the Mercedes, and they're on trips and all of those things. Don't go into it for that. If you're not going in it to care for people and to make a difference, it's going to be a very hard adjustment for you. It's going to be a hard career. Yes, you can live a great lifestyle, you can live a lavish lifestyle in it, but you have to care about people to sustain in it. Um, Early on, know your strengths and your weaknesses. Again, there is something in this for everybody. When I first got into nursing school, once I accepted this is what I wanted to do, I wanted to be a pediatric nurse. My first day of clinicals, there was a baby that I had to take care of that was the same age as my son at the time, who had open heart surgery. Cried all day. So I knew right then that peds was never going to be a place for me. So I did adults and I did sick adults, and I'm an adrenaline junkie. And so I did trauma and I did critical care because I like the unknown. Everybody don't like that. I was one of them nurses. My favorite patient is intubated, sedated, preferably no visitors. Um, Everybody's not like that. You have people that need to talk to their patients. They need to make that connection. And so acute care is a great place. Med surge is a great place for you to go. So just come into it with an open heart and open mind. My residents that come in, when we would interview them, everybody want to go to critical care. And I had to get them to understand that everybody can't go to critical care. Somebody has to do med surge. Somebody has to do rehab. Somebody has to do oncology. And a lot of them get to those areas and didn't even realize that there was so much potential for them to be able to excel in and to be able to advance in it. So I would just say have an open heart, have an open mind, come in with clear boundaries, and have a self-care regimen. You have to have a self-care regimen.
So, speaking of self-care regimen, what's yours?
So what I have come to understand, I am transparent. I have a therapist, and so her and I, when I first started seeing her, she's like, "What's self-care?" And I was like, I go to the gym and I take a bath, and she was like, "That's not self-care. That is normal things that people are supposed to do. You're supposed to take a bath. You're supposed to put lotion on. You're supposed to work out and take care of yourself. Like self-care is that." Place in space that you go to just pause where you do nothing strenuous, your heart rate is not up, your respiratory rate is not up, your mind is at ease and at rest. That is self care. And so I had to restructure how I think about self care. So now for me, self care are things like coloring. Like I got the adult coloring books. I like to do that. My daughter is now 23, and so she's kind of like my bestie. So the times when I can, her and I can get on a sofa and Netflix and chill and order DoorDash because neither one of us want to cook and those kind of things. That has now been my self care. I am a newlywed. It's my second marriage. I'm a newlywed, but every 6 months we take a trip, and it's no cell phones. It's no work related stuff. It's just places and spaces, and it doesn't have to be an elaborate trip. We not always going out of the country. We do that, but it could just be a weekend that we just go get a hotel in the city and just be tourists in that area. But finding those places and spaces where I'm not in fight or flight. And for me,
Yes.
fight or flight was normal. And so when my therapist was like, yeah, working out is not self-care. Your heart rate is up the entire time you're doing that. You're sweating, and so it had to change my perspective. So now I find those places and spaces where I'm resting and my heart rate is, 50, 60, and my respiratory rate is 10, and, my blood pressure is normal and my pupils are not dilated and all of those things. So that's self-care for me. And you just have to, you pencil it in like you do everything else. And that's the other
Yes.
thing because we'll end up pushing what we schedule for self-care off to do other things. And so I put it on my calendar like I do everything else. Today is the day I am going get a mani and a pedi, and it is total just woosah day. It goes on the calendar. Today is the day that I'm not doing anything. It's on the calendar. My phone is on do not disturb. And that's what I do for that day. But you have to schedule it like you do everything else.
Yep. I had to learn that. I had to learn to put it on the calendar, put myself in the equation and say, listen, it's my time.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, I structure it that way. Like I have my
Mhm.
first and foremost on my calendar goes my time with God. So in the morning I get up, that's kind of the first thing that I do. Because creatures of habit, it used to be the first thing I did was pick up my phone and see, what post, but now I've gotten creatures of habit. I pick up my phone and my pastor gave us like a devotional for the year to go through the entire Bible. And so I pick that up, go through whatever that devotion is for the day, and then that's how I start my day. That time is penciled in and is scheduled, and then everything else is penciled in and scheduled around that. I pencil in time for just my husband and I,
Mhm.
and it's not all the time we go in places and do things like we love this card game Phase 10. We pencil that in on the schedule. Like this is the night that we're going to watch crazy stuff on TV on Netflix or just listen to music and play Phase 10 and talk about what's going on and work and all of those things. So you have to structure your life. Things are really busy, things move really, really fast, but we have things in the palm of our hand, which is your phone that nobody ever puts down that can help you align and structure what that looks like from day to day.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. I love it. I love it. Shantrice, thank you so much for this conversation. The time has gone
You
by
are
so quickly.
welcome. You are
Any
welcome.
gems you'd like to leave us with before you go?
I would say, um, one thing I would like people to want, whether you're a nurse, whatever that role looks like for you, just know that if you're feeling something right now, you're not the problem. You're not lazy. You're not incapable. What you're probably feeling is being overwhelmed. You're exhausted. You're being stretched. And so this is a time, this is a place, make today be the shift that you stop asking, how do I continue to push through? How do I get through this? And start asking what needs to change so I can actually sustain where I'm at. Thriving is not something reserved for a few of us once we figure out. It is something that can be intentionally designed if you make the effort. Once you identify where that misalignment is, do the work so that you're thriving intentionally, not optionally.
Awesome. I love it. And on that note, thank you so very much. It
You're
has been a pleasure.
welcome. You're welcome.